Welcome to #AfricanFood. Isn't it amazing to be here at Facebook HQ? Come on, you can do better than that. Isn't it amazing to be here at Facebook? It is indeed. So, good evening. My name is Priscilla Bafor, and I'll be your panel moderator this evening. By day, I'm the Industry Talent and Diversity Specialist at Channel 4, and in my spare time, I am a presenter, host, and panel moderator. But above all of that, I'm a big African foodie, so I'm definitely in the right place this evening.
I'm the founder of Pop-Up Africa, and this is the lovely Bayor, the founder of Do It Now Africa. Just to give you a bit of background about this event, Pop-Up Africa have been running since 2013, and we initially started out doing pop-up events at Spitalfields Market, retail, clothes, jewellery, skin and hair products, but we also found that our food section was really popular. And when we started out back in 2013, it was quite difficult to find African food vendors that kind of offered something different or offered something that was quite palatable to a non-African that was just coming and interested in African food. It was giving young, savvy Africans a voice. We're innovative, and people are finding us through social media. We're telling our own story of Africa. We're telling people about our fashion. We're telling people about our travel and tourism, and we're also telling people about our food. So it's changing the language when people talk about African food. We're not talking about the lack of it. We're talking about the different dishes now. We're celebrating the dishes, and we're seeing it presented in so many different ways. And there's so many guys here in particular that have really, really helped to push African food in London. I'm not going to mention all of them. A lot of them are on our panels, so they're going to introduce themselves. And also earlier this year we were invited to be on the panel for a Red Magazine competition. So mainstream media are picking up on the growing interest in African food. So it's about time we celebrated it. Thank you.
Excited to be part of the Do It Now community, the Startups for Africa community, that is a community where people are unabashedly, unapologetically saying that the thing that I'm passionate about is the thing that I'm going to put my work into, and I'm going to make it something that not only I can be proud of, but everyone that sees me and knows that I'm African can say that person is standing tall in their Africanness and celebrating their work through it. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but I hope you enjoy the event, and I hope you do come and talk to me when I don't have a microphone in my hand, because I make a heck of a lot more sense then.
The amazing panel that we have lined up for you this evening. We've got some amazing foodies, experts, bloggers, vloggers, TV personalities. So I'd like to welcome to the floor our panelists. They'll then each introduce themselves. We'll kick off a bit of conversation, and then there'll be an opportunity for you guys to also put some questions to them. How does that sound? Brilliant. So first,
and I run a website called West Africa Cooks. I've been running it for about 5 years, and it's about the food, it's about the recipes, it's about the cooking, and I'm just very passionate about promoting African food. As simple as that. I think that we need to really step up, be professional, and it's just there for us to take.
The brain behind it, I do have my own cooking show on ABN TV at the moment, and yeah, it's all about African food with a twist up and a twist.
brilliant. Welcome this evening.
Thank you.
And next I have Ivy.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivy, and I'm the face behind A Taste of Zimbabwe on YouTube, Instagram, and Ivy's Kitchenette on Facebook. I love African food, I'm crazy about it, and I'm very proud to be African. That's all.
Brilliant. And Takumba?
Okay, good evening everyone. I'm the extra one that gets the microphone because I'm special. So I run Takumba's Kitchen, which is a pop-up catering and supper club event. So I do supper clubs, I do festivals, and I do private catering, and I do market stores, and all with the mission to spread the goodness that is Nigerian food. Because as far as I'm concerned, what is better than a plate of pounded yam and okra soup?
And last but not least on the panel, we have Henna.
Hello, I'm Henna. I'm an editor at MediaDiversified.org. It's a website promoting the work of writers of colour. I'm also really quite greedy. I used to run my own restaurants before I became a journalist, and now I do a bit of both. I run a little pop-up bakery called Sunbakes, making free from baked goods, and yeah, that's it.
Short and digital media play a part of this, and I'm going to just kick off with you here at the front, Leslie.
Okay, I've been thinking about this a lot, and why now? In the media, I think everyone realises that you know, this past year things have kind of politically changed. A lot of kind of things like Brexit, and obviously in America, and I think there's been a kind of an awakening. We know there's a pay gap in terms of women and men. We know there's a gap between people that are black and white. So I think that people now are thinking to themselves, hey listen, if I'm going to work for that organisation, that company, I'm not going to get fairly treated. Let's start and look at doing something for myself. And I think that's happening in fashion. I think that's also happening in music and especially African food, African and Caribbean foods. I think that's one thing. And there's an opportunity as well. People are now becoming a bit more professional. So you can use social media, you can use digital technologies to get your message out there. And I think now is the time to combine your kind of skills with that, with your knowledge and your heritage to basically, you know, bring African food to the fore.
Brilliant. So ultimately, you're kind of saying that it's about passion almost as well. And if you're not able to get it through an employer, for example, you can go out there and do it yourself now and do what you're really passionate about.
So it's about flexibility as well. It's great to see, you know, black women up here doing the business.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm serious. What that means is that you can look after your family. You can think about the future and your heritage. So that all comes into play.
Brilliant. And Vapa, what's your thoughts on this?
I think that African food is actually doing well at the moment because people are actually proud of what they're eating now. People are presenting it really well. They are educating the masses, educating people about it. And I think my experience actually came from a lot of like Indian dishes, because I love Indian dishes. But I noticed that when I went to my Indian friends, their homes, they actually had different sort of dishes that they made. And then there was one that was catered for the Western palate. And hence that's how they were able to infiltrate into the market and to actually get people in. And it was so frustrating that whenever you spoke about African food, the feedback wasn't great. Either, oh, it doesn't look good, but the taste was there. It's like, it's the most delicious and flavorful dishes ever. And I think that now people are taking pride in how they present it, they talk about it, they educate, like the ingredients, what's yam? It sounds weird. No, it's like potatoes, you know, people can relate to that. And I think that the barriers that we've created is actually coming down. And the traditional way that we prepare things, you know, like grinding our pepper on the stone or like, you know, barbecuing the tomatoes, we're proud of it, we're talking about it. It's natural flavors, and we eat natural food and fresh produce. And I think this is the time now, and everyone should go for it. You know, if you're cooking at home, my thing is, you work so hard, if you're about to eat, treat yourself like a queen or a king. You set your table, do it properly, and eat it. Don't just dish, splash, wash, and eat it. No, just treat it with respect, because you worked for it, go for it, and talk about it. Invite your friends, let them know about the herbs, let them know about the spices, let them know, educate them. They'll try it once, trust me, they'll come back. It's fine for people to have a perception. It's great, because that's their opinion. But it's another thing for us to change their perception, and the only way we can do it is to do it right. We should present it right. Consistency, being professional, as Leslie says. You have to be professional about it. If you want to run a catering business, do it properly. Don't be late. deliver, over-deliver. You know, go out of your way, because you're starting a business. You're starting with, you're starting with with a back foot, because it's like, you're not starting something where, let's say, everybody knows about it. You've got to find your own way of getting your clients and everything. So a client is your future. Treat them with respect. And, keep going. Even when it's hard, but I think that also we need to support each other. That's the most important thing. Supporting each other. We can have the fans and jokes and stuff, but if you don't actually help the other person or patronize their business, how are they actually going to spend money in their marketing and their branding and make it better and to compete with the other world? Give them, give constructive criticisms. Just stop all this being abusive, and there's no need for it, because it takes a lot of effort for somebody to get up and sacrifice and say, I'm going to set up a business, I'm going to do this. If you have something, email them, talk to them, tell them, this is what I think. Let them also, give them the time to grow. It's a lot of different things. But, we're doing well. We're doing well, considering.
Definitely.
And you are going to face the challenges, trust me.
There's always going to be challenges.
That's how you do it. Just focus and just keep going. That's all I can say.
Definitely. And Ivy, so you're a blogger and a recipe book author. Woo! So Ivy, for you, why now? Why all the big interest in African food?
I actually think that for so many years, Africans, we have been so locked up somewhere. We never wanted to embrace who we are, where we come from. And I think we finally come and took the courage to be proud of who we are, where we come from, and what we eat in our homes. And I think for so many years, we were so shy about our hair. We were so, maybe I wouldn't use the word shy, but we were not very proud of even our own hair, our own food, our own culture. And over the past few years, people have really come out of the shell and begin to understand that, this is who we are. It's never going to change. We have to take pride in our food, in our cuisine as Africans. That's basically what I think. And also knowing that African food is actually very healthy. I remember because I'm currently studying culinary arts at the University of West London. I did I did a research on the grains in Africa, and I realized that most of the grains that they are saying they are super grains, they're being taken from Africa, and they're being shipped here, and then they're selling them for so much money. And us Africans were sitting there, and these people, and they're calling these food superfoods, things that we grew up eating, things that we've always been shy about, so that's what I think. That's why African cuisine is really hitting the roof right now. That's my point.
Yeah, thank you. And Kumbo, what are your thoughts on this?
I personally wouldn't say it's a question of being shy. I think Africans have done themselves a great disservice in terms of the way they open up their restaurants. So if you go to an African restaurant, it's usually open in a local community area where there's a lot of Africans that patronize that restaurant, and they don't make any attempt to actually make it mainstream. So you go there and the windows look dark. There's no lighting, and so if you're somebody that walks in the area and you wouldn't even know there's an African restaurant there. You would literally walk past it because there's nothing that's inviting about it. So I think that's one of the main things. And I think this generation of Africans who have had either through social media or lived in different countries, we have seen, we've gone out to eat, we've gone to 5-star dinners, we've gone to McDonald's, we've seen a different way that food can be presented. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with putting splish splash if the food tastes good. I don't think we have to completely change African food to fit the Western narrative of what food should look like. I think it should be so much about the taste. I remember when I was 16, I used to work civil service waitressing at Grosvenor's Hotel, which is like a 5-star hotel in central London. And I remember the first couple of weeks, the food would smell so amazing, the chef would bring it out, it would be plated amazing, and then you take a taste of it and you're like,
what is this? I mean, there's nothing to it. So for me personally, I think social media, and I think, you know, a generation of, you know, British Africans, American Africans, and, you know, Africans who are celebrating the diversity of being African are the ones that are really pushing this agenda. I mean, for me, I remember my journey started because, you know, someone like Yemisi, the way she writes about food, and she's writing about food that I grew up eating, like you said, and I'm thinking, wow, really? You're talking about food that I just thought was normal, and the way she's describing it, and, you know, food bloggers, I mean, you guys are doing amazing work, really, in terms of you're documenting and you're leaving a legacy that I can feel proud to be a part of, because, you know, for me, I've learned techniques, because the other thing is African foods, and also I have this thing about, why do we say African food? Because there's no such thing. We should be really saying food from Africa. I mean, I do supper clubs, and before I started my supper clubs, I used to go to a lot of other supper clubs, and I read a lot of reviews, and I remember reading one review on Grub Club, and the person had written, oh, I tried African food before and I didn't like it. And I thought to myself, well, which food? From which African country? From which part of the African country? I mean, I do Nigerian food, and I do Nigerian food that's restricted to the tribe that I come from in Nigeria. So another Nigerian person can come along and tell me that this is not Nigerian food that I grew up eating, and they're very, very right to have that claim. So I think so for me, when I'm talking about my supper club, for example, I tell people, I'm bringing you a taste of Nigeria. I'm not bringing you African food, I'm bringing you a taste of Nigeria, and when you come to my supper club, I'm educating you about the food that you're eating. So for example, when I do market stalls in Tottenham, in South Bank, people see me frying yam and they're like, what's that? It's yam. Oh, okay, I'll have a taste of it. Most people, I mean, most people who are foodies and are passionate about foodies, they don't really care what it is. They will just taste it. Literally, I mean, I remember the first event that I did, which was Africa Utopia, and, you know, the Eritrean people that were next to me, the queue was like long, literally up, and most people, I was like talking to them, oh, do you know what that is? No. When you're queuing up to buy this food, most people are sheep, they're followers. They see a long queue of people, it's true, that is the reality. They will join that queue and they will buy that food and they will not even know what it is. Then they'll go home and say, oh, I had something interesting, and then somebody will say to them, oh, it was jollof rice. Oh, is that what it is? So I think for me, what I'm really keen for us to be doing as, you know, part of the trend is to be educating people. So when I tell people what jollof rice is, I say it's basically rice that's steamed cooked in a tomato, onion, and pepper-based sauce. Now, who doesn't know rice? Who doesn't know tomato? Who doesn't know onion? Who doesn't know, well, if you combine something together and you steam cook it, it's going to taste amazing. And that's the end of it, so.
Thank you, Takumba. Very interesting twist there. Finally on this point, Hannah, what are your thoughts on the extent that social and digital media play a part of the African food story?
Yeah, so there's not a lot left to say after these guys have all spoken, but you know, I'll have a go. I think it's been really important to see, like was already mentioned, the clean eating movement and how they've kind of appropriated a lot of ingredients that originally are used in African cuisines. There's teff, the grain that's used in Ethiopia to make the bread, that may exist and may have been on the quiz. But you can see right in little tubes in the supermarket here, and it's like ridiculously expensive, where we're trying to bake free-from stuff and trying to avoid using wheat. There's a lot of ingredients that are coming out. Amaranth is another one, and I've read that the hot trend for 2017 is going to be moringa, which is also and then at the same time we've also had a lot of pioneers coming up, and I think there's a commercial case that's now been made amongst publishers, amongst people that market food brands, who have noticed that there is success to be had from foods from the continent.
A growing trend in African food is the emergence of Pan-African cuisine, Afro-Brit food, and other African-inspired fusion foods. Do you think there's a risk of African food therefore losing its authenticity?
So this is something that I've thought about a lot, because I think a wider trend outside of African cuisines is that we're moving away from overarching titles for cuisines. Like you wouldn't say Indian, you might say North Indian or South Indian, or you might even just say Punjabi or something like that. And that's definitely the case, obviously, for European food, which has now gotten so like micro that you're just like the town in which it came from. You know? We talk about these cheeses or these specially designated products which are only made in certain places. And at the same time, so we're having this kind of narrowing in other cuisines, but when we're talking about this kind of African food movement, that's a huge area and a huge wealth of cuisines that we're talking about. And I wonder whether this is a slow development and that we actually, like we said, educate our audiences, that they're slowly being introduced by these cuisines and these flavours, and then we'll kind of move downward, and then people will start to recognise regional and national cuisines after that. Thank you.
I love to play around with food. There's nothing that really makes me happy than taking a normal plate of salsa and turning it into something. And I've realized that so many times when you change around ingredients, people that are not even from my country really want to taste this food.
I think I'll start this way, because my husband is English, and he has his very traditional dishes that he likes. I also like my African food, I don't play with that. So I had to find a way to compromise that, and I think that's where all this started from. So it was like, okay, I take one of his favorite ingredients, and I take my favorite ingredient, and I just do what I want to do.
Okay, give us an example. So I'm thinking of food right now.
Baked beans.
I mean, I do yam soufflés and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I've done a plantain lasagna. I mean, like, I just like
Plantain lasagna?
Seriously. Especially like those overripened ones.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that noise. So yeah. So you know when it's like you fry it and it's like all caramelized at the bottom. You have your meat in there. Or if you're vegetarian, just add vegetables and just add cheese sauce. Seriously. You know, and then just look for like something like a salad that's like a little bit on the sour side, because of course the plantain is sweet, so it balances it for you. It's incredible, very cheap to make, incredible. What do I think about African food? And you know, it's just like some people like to wear traditional clothes, others don't. We're a continent, and it's Jesus. I wish I just knew every ingredient and every recipe in that whole continent. It's incredible. And I'm not going to stop. I am definitely going to do that. Traditional ways are traditional ways. I grew up in an environment where, I lived on the border of Ghana and Togo. We had almost similar ingredients. I go to my family home in Ghana, and it's a different flavors and stuff. And I go to Togo, and it's like different flavors, same ingredients. So I sort of grew up that way. Some people have grown up in a way that they have like farms, so they've grown up in a very traditional environment. So be it. We can learn from each other. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to do it traditionally, and I think that, as they say, when you say Indian food, India is like huge. There are different things. We've not even got there yet. We've not even got to a point whereby, you've got Nando's. Where's the African version of it? Even though it's like you'd find, if you go to Nando's, you'd find about 80% of us black people being there. We've not got to that stage yet. So yes, if it's an African food, it doesn't matter. You want to actually put it into a little section, it's fine. Which is great, because in as much as you're doing it, some people want to do it the other way to actually increase the number of people that they want to, broaden their, the audience. If I'm actually working on the British television, I can't just, if I can, I'll do what I want anyway. But I have to relate. I have to actually relate the audience to what I'm doing. So if I'm talking about yam, if I'm talking about plantain, if I'm talking about what, I have to relate it to what the everyday dishes are, for them to actually imagine what it would taste like. Yeah. For them, when they go to the shops, oh, she was talking about that yam, that's it. Oh, is that the plantain? Oh, okay. Oh, I can't eat it raw. Or maybe I can eat it raw when it's overripe or whatever, So at least it doesn't matter. So farmers said if everybody is doing their bit and you're doing it well, but stop copying each other. Be different. Be different. Attack it from different angles.
Talking about social media and business, not everyone's kind of social media savvy, and some people don't know what to do, they don't know what hashtags to use, they don't know the right language. How did you make social media work for you and your business?
Okay, for me, I'm a website designer and developer, so I've kind of always thought about how the web works and you know, how things connect and what you need to do to get your message out there. In terms of hashtags and all that, you just really need to just you know, make sure you know it's got Africa on there, really. In terms of getting the message out. You have to be active. You have to be active. You have to be active on Facebook. You have to be active on Instagram, Twitter. If you can automate, try and automate. And also think about the numbers as well. I've got you know, a few thousand on you know, following on Twitter, blah, 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 blah. But that's not enough. You need to be sharing other people's content because I think I looked at some stats the other day. There's millions of websites, millions of Facebook pages, and if you don't share other people's, you just don't get above water. So, you know, as Fafa said, you know, if I see something from Fafa and I think, right, I need to, you know, get that message across, you need to just get that message. Everyone here, you know, take pictures, tweet about it. Everyone needs to be up in their game and sharing en masse. We can make a difference. One person, you've got a couple of thousand, 3,000, 4,000. That's not going to cut it. You need to really connect with other people and then get the message across that way.
Interesting. I love that. And I guess you're in the kind of online internet business already.
Yeah.
Is pictures a big thing as well? You know, images, how are we pushing images out? What are the best platforms for doing that?
Yeah, obviously we know that Instagram is the big one at the moment now, and they've got to be a good image. I know that Tom is here. She's got a fantastic camera. She's all about pictures. And Lope over there, she's all about pictures as well. And, you know, just get the message out.
Would you recommend professional photographers to photograph stuff, or do you think it's enough being done on the phone? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Sometimes you can get some really nice, quirky shots done on the phone. You know, it's all about telling that story. So if you can see the story coming out, then you'll get it. You know, you get the message across. So yeah.
And I'm going to throw it back down to Henna over there at the end. What's your thoughts on you know, social media and how we use this to make our businesses successful?
I would say call the alternative media, and that sounds really self-serving because I'm one of those. But really, there's a massive scene emerging in the UK, as well as other parts of the world, where media has not been great to us as ethnic minorities, and so we've created our own. And obviously there's been outlets around for years and years, like The Voice, that we all know. But also there's new online native ones as well, like Media Diversified, also Galdem magazine, Skin Deep magazine. Look them up, they will be interested in you, they'll be interested in your businesses, they will help you as much as they can. They'll interview you, they'll make videos about you, court them as much as you can. And also, most of them are very small and don't really have a lot of funding, so make it easy for them as well. I'm an editor, and I get approached by a lot of people who want me to feature their projects. And like, you know, as much as I'd love to do it all the time, I don't have that much resource to hand. So if your mate is good at writing and they can write an interview about you for you, then, you know, try and present the finished project to these guys. The other thing I will say is there is a lot of examples of success in this. I recently did a feature about a guy who wrote a book which is chronicling the history of Caribbean food in the UK. And it's a great book, and he managed to crowdfund to have it printed, and it all went really well. So if you do manage to tap into these networks, they have great existing communities online that will support you. So as long as you're able to kind of give a bit to them, you'll get a lot back.
Brilliant. Thank you, Henna. There's a lot of kind of online buzz around African food. Would you guys say, and I'm just going to throw it out there to anyone that wants to answer this, that the buzz is truly reflected in the market? Or does African food still have a long way to go in terms of being up there on par with Asian and European food industry?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that. We've got a long
I thought you might.
A long way to go. And there was an award ceremony about 3 or 4 years ago. Everyone heard of the Ethnic Food Awards?
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Okay, well, yeah.
Can I have a show of hands? Has anybody here heard of that award?
Yeah,
really
Lenny Henry was
interesting.
presenting at
Wow.
that. Anyway, it went on somewhere West London, and there's an award ceremony. Anyway, it stopped, and I started to think about this. There wasn't any African representative at all. It was mainly, Asian food. So, the whole continent was completely missed out. And I don't know what's happened to that awards, because as far as I'm concerned, they're just giving it to themselves, the same thing to the same people. We've got a hell of a long way to go. So we need to get into the mainstream media. FAFO is doing that at the moment now. We need to get into the national press, as Henry was saying. We get national magazines. Until we get into the mainstream, until you can say, hey, listen, my mum saw some people on TV that are doing African food, until she tells you, your mother tells you, then we've got somewhere.
Okay. So we want to disagree.
I'm going to agree, unfortunately. As somebody who does events, who does African food events, I remember the first supper club that I did. I was very, very excited, advertised. And okay, can I just quickly go back to answer the other question about social media? I am a self-proclaimed Twitter addict, to the point that I actually took a Twitter break. And the only reason I came back on Twitter was because I launched my business. And I thought to myself, well, I spent so much time on Twitter, I might as well use Twitter to boost my business. And yeah, it's been very good for me in terms of, because people already know me on Twitter and they know my voice. I mean, I have a lot of Twitter friends who we've never met, but they know so much about my life. It's amazing. And, people like I have a friend in Dubai, and she went to a shop and she saw Haagen-Dazs. And because I'm always tweeting about Haagen-Dazs, she took a picture and she said, see what you're making me buy. So that is the power of social media. And the other day I tweeted, and also I share my story on Twitter. And I think that's the key thing. People recognize my brand who haven't even attended my events. I went to a networking event at Amazon last week, and I mentioned Tokuba's Kitchen, and the lady said, oh, are you the lady with the yellow? I was like, yes. So it's about, because I tell my story all the time. I come in here and I'm doing instant story, not because I'm vain and I like to look at myself. I mean, there's an element to that, but it's because I want people to know what I'm doing. When I'm at home and it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm baking the pies that you all ate, even though I had a cold.
It's a hard life.
It's a hard life. But yeah, I mean, I use social media a lot in terms of telling my brand story, telling my story, because I think for me it's Tokuba's Kitchen. I don't always share the struggles, but sometimes I do. I tell people, it's been Sunday I had an event that went completely wrong. It was really, really bad, and I went home almost in tears. And next morning I said, okay, you know what? That was yesterday. Can't do anything more about it. It's happened. I'm going to learn from that and move on.
So Comrade, just to interrupt you just a bit there, and I just want to bring it back to around this buzz, because you've spoken about how you've used social media to create that buzz online, people to know your brand. There's so much hype on social media. Is that being reflected within your business?
Well, this is the thing. In terms of ticket sales, especially when I do supper clubs, when I do market stores and festivals, people do turn up. Usually because they're planning to go to that festival anyways, or they're in local area. But when I do supper clubs, it's gotten to the stage where I've now learned to plan myself that my ticket sales are going to be made. Almost 80% of my ticket sales are made in the last 3-4 days before my event. Okay. Which is very frustrating, because it means that I'm limited in what I can actually plan towards doing that event. But at the same time, I've come to realize that, black people are lastminute.com. They want to support. They want to come to that supper club. But they've got bills to pay. They've got other things to do. So they're thinking to themselves, yeah, she wants £35 of my money, but I have to pay my bills, I have to do this. But then that same person will go to the shop and pay £35 for, pair of trainers or pair of makeup. I did a festival, I did a pop-up event with Lope and some other food bloggers in the summer. And we were having a conversation about pricing, and I said to them, listen, I've done about 4 events by now, so this is the price that we should be trying to go in terms of, we're paying for venue, we're paying for staff, we're paying for ingredients, we're not even making any profit. And one of the other brothers was like, well, you know, the people that, you know, you're older than us, and, you know, our age group are not going to want to pay £25. And I said, but those age group will go into the shop and buy £25 lipstick. So if you're buying £25 lipstick, but you can't pay £25 to support a fellow black person's business, then there's something seriously wrong. And the point that Fafa also made about supporting ourselves, that needs to be done, but it's not always reflective. I have been to, between me and Leslie, we've been to about a dozen African supper clubs in the last year. You know, I've gone to all the, even before I started doing my own supper clubs, I went to other people's pop-up events, I've gone to other people's supper clubs, I've gone to market stores and, you know, patronized them. And when I'm doing my events, they're telling me, yeah, I'm coming, I see you, I see you. Listen, I'm real.
No, keep it real. Keep it real.
It's a business. I'm struggling. I now know how to do cash flow. I'm so proud of myself. Not even just that. Like, no, you know when you put figures in spreadsheet, but you're just putting it in, you don't really understand what you're doing. I now actually understand. My first year, I actually made money, but guess what? I spent a lot more money.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I'm now getting to the stage where I need to be not just breaking even. I need to be making money from this business, and the only way that I can do that is to plug and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing a supper club on the 10th of December. Please attend.
It's time to beg.
If you can't attend, share that information with somebody that you think might be interested. Buy a ticket for somebody else. It's Christmas. Early Christmas present. Why not? Because that's the only way we're going to do it. Don't go to Nando's and spend £15 and then complain that you're going to spend £35 to come to my supper club, because at the end of the day, I'm giving you an experience that you're not going to get in Nando's.
Whoa, nice picture.
Can I add something as well, yeah? If you do spend your money at places like Nando's, yeah, you never get a return back. You'll never get a return back. If you spend it at Toowoomba's, then what she's doing is she's building up a business, which is a legacy. All these people here are building up businesses which are legacy, which you can pass on. But you give it to Nando's, you'll never get it back.
Pictures are a big deal. I love pictures so much. If it's not good enough, I don't share it. That's basically what it is. And I'm constantly saying to people, I mean, talking of our African cuisine, I would feel that, I mean, if you've been blogging for a year or two, it's time for you to at least buy yourself a nice camera, even the cheapest one, and take things to another level. I mean, pictures, especially on Instagram, they're the biggest thing. When people like your pictures and someone who's just scrolling through the Explorer sees it, definitely if it's beautiful, people want to know what that picture is all about, and that's how people recognize you. And I'm constantly talking to small businesses, especially people who do cakes. Anybody who bakes cakes in here? I've been advising people, for example, when you're putting your cake pictures out there, no one knows how your cakes taste, but your pictures should speak for itself. You know what I mean? So if you're constantly using your iPhone to take pictures, they're not great enough. You're not doing yourself any favors. You know, you can use an iPhone. I know people who use iPhones, but how about you take things to another level? Get a nice Canon or Samsung. They're not even expensive. Do yourself a favor. I mean, you never know where these pictures will end up. For me, I remember when I started food blogging, I was just on cooking at home, taking pictures taking pictures of food, that just random food from my kitchen, and people would be crazy about it because of maybe just how I presented it. And I realized that if I'm getting so much recognition, well, I need to take things to another level. And I started researching a lot about food pictures, photography, how to take good pictures, and I began to understand how daylight pictures make a lot of sense.